In our previous video, we discussed how Xi Jinping's No Forbidden Zones campaign has already reached the highest ranks of the Chinese military. But when even the most powerful and well-connected generals are now being investigated, an increasingly unavoidable question is emerging among observers. Is this campaign truly making the People's Liberation Army cleaner and more disciplined? Or is it fundamentally changing the way China's entire military system operates? In today's China series, Global Military Update examines why many analysts believe that the anti-corruption campaign inside the PLA may now be starting to produce unintended consequences. The arrest and the political nature of the campaign, the detention of Zhang Yuxia and Liu Zhenli, two of China's most senior military figures, has caused widespread attention, especially because of the unusually rapid handling of the cases and the way state media announced the developments. In the political language of the Chinese Communist Party, the timing of an announcement and the choice of targets are often just as important as the accusations themselves. PLA media outlets have accused the two generals of seriously undermining the top responsibility system of the chairman of the Central Military Commission and of threatening the party's absolute leadership over the armed forces. These accusations are political in nature rather than conventional corruption charges. As a result, the latest arrests are widely viewed as primarily political, while the anti-corruption narrative serves as a framework for an internal reshuffling of power. The limits of anti-corruption in a highly centralized system. Corruption within China's party-state system is not only a problem of individual ethics, it is also a direct outcome of how power is structured and exercised. When authority, resources, and key decisions, such as land use, investment projects, finance, and administrative approvals, are concentrated in the hands of a bureaucratic system without independent oversight, power can easily be converted into personal gain. President Xi Jinping believes that an intensified anti-corruption drive can create a clean, disciplined, and rule-abiding corps of officials and military officers. However, building a system with virtually zero tolerance for misconduct is, in practice, extremely difficult. When standards are set unrealistically high, investigations and detentions must continue indefinitely. Over time, anti-corruption becomes a permanent process of internal restructuring within the ruling elite. The collapse of informal rules and growing insecurity inside the system. For many years, the system operated under certain unwritten assumptions of safety. Very senior officials, so-called princelings, and individuals with special political connections were widely believed to be largely protected. These informal boundaries helped maintain overall stability. But when figures previously regarded as untouchable, including those with long-standing personal ties to the top leadership, are also targeted, a clear message is sent across the entire bureaucracy and the armed forces. There are no longer any guaranteed safe zones. As a result, officials and officers can no longer assume that rank or personal connections will shield them from political risk. Risk avoidance and the erosion of governing capacity. Once fear becomes the dominant psychological environment, behavior inside the system begins to change. Officials increasingly avoid approving documents, avoid making decisions, and avoid taking responsibility unless absolutely necessary. The priority is no longer to perform well, but to avoid becoming the next target. According to the author, this leads to slower decision-making, weaker policy implementation, and a decline in the flow of honest information reaching senior leaders. Outwardly, the system may still display unity and strong expressions of loyalty. Internally, however, a form of silent paralysis is emerging, gradually hollowing out governance capacity, reform momentum, and even the modernization of the armed forces. Long-term implications for personnel and the power structure. The most significant consequences of the current campaign are likely to become visible during personnel arrangements at the upcoming 21st Party Congress. Political safety is expected to become the central criterion in selecting both civilian and military leaders. This means capable, reform-minded officials, or those with independent networks of influence, may increasingly be viewed as potential risks. By contrast, cautious, low-profile, and easily controlled figures may appear safer choices. The central question, therefore, is no longer who will be investigated next, but whether the system can continue to function effectively when fear and defensive behavior dominate the entire power structure. The anti-corruption campaign inside China's military is no longer merely an internal disciplinary drive. It is becoming a factor that directly shapes how China's military and political systems operate in the long term. The key question is not only who will be investigated next, but whether the PLA and China's overall decision-making system can maintain effectiveness in an environment where political caution and safety are increasingly prioritized. In the next videos of our China series, Global Military Update will examine who actually holds power within the PLA's key branches, how the disciplinary campaign is affecting the rocket force and the Navy, and how these changes may influence future security scenarios in the Taiwan Strait and across the Asia-Pacific region.